Hello, and welcome to the web guide video for resources for Mr. Joyce's American Lit Law project. We're going to run through the different resources you can use for this project and just offer you some reminders along the way. So the website itself is really broken into a front page and then a project resources page. On the front page, of course, is this video and the handouts that you need for the project. And Mr. Joyce has gone over these with you in class, but if you have questions, please see him. As far as project resources, basically we're looking at databases, books, web, and we will use turnitin.com when your project is completed. You'll be asked to give a speech to the class, but you also need to have a written component for the law project itself. For your sources for this project, what you're looking for are controversial issues that can help you to think of a law that would be useful to pass. And remember, your law needs to be something that's new. So we're going to start with databases. There are two databases that really work well for this project. One of them is the Gale Opposing Viewpoints in Context. I like this database because it gives you a list of different topics. This is nice because it can give you a way to start, especially if you're having difficulty thinking of something. So we'll start there. Gale Opposing Viewpoints. If I go ahead and just type in capital punishment and hit return. As long as you're in the school, you'll have access to the Gale the Gale resources. However, if you're outside of school, you'll want to make sure to pick up a database sheet, which is available in the library. So after searching for capital punishment, I'm taken to a bunch of different articles, but one of the nice things about opposing viewpoints, I searched for my topic, but I can go ahead and browse issues. And as I mentioned, here are a list of a lot of different issues. Some of these would lend themselves well to new laws or law proposals that you might have. So this is a great place to start to look. If you do find a page for your topic, there are a lot of resources connected to it. Going back to the other databases that are available, Power Library has a nice selection of contemporary magazines and articles that might work for a project like this where you're looking at a new law. So if you click on Power Library and then go down to General Reference, EBSCOhost is right there. EBSCOhost is a collection of a lot of different databases, but we're going to look at a couple specifically. So click EBSCOhost again. On this page, this is very important. You want to make sure that you actually select the databases you want to look for. So here we see the green file is selected. Green file is really only an environmental database. So if you're doing something a little more contemporary, maybe you're talking about texting and driving, you're not going to find articles in green file, but you might find some in some of the news wires or master file main edition, which is a nice collection of different magazines and some things that are more contemporary. So I'm going to go ahead and select everything. This is a very large search. Now, as you're warned, this may slow things down. You may be better served to go through and hand pick your databases, especially if you're finding your results are too scattered or not really what you're looking for. So again, I'm here on the main page with EBSCOhost, and I'm going to go ahead and type in capital punishment again. When I do that, I'm given a results page. And on the results page, you can see that there are some connected articles and things that, again, might lend themselves for your research. One thing that I will mention later on, and I'll briefly overview this later, is that you can search for books in here. One of the databases you can choose is one called eBook Collections. So if I only were to select that one, I'm actually no longer looking at articles. What I'm actually looking at are ebooks that are available on my topic. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And now I'm only looking for some of those ebooks that are available. And there's a wide range, but there are a lot, about 18,000 different books that are available to us. So you are able to check through here and see if any of those will work for your project. So that's EBSCO in a nutshell. Again, if you have any trouble with it, let me know. One last thing here, it's very helpful to on the side to limit to full text, and also you'll see that you can limit the dates if that's useful. I definitely would recommend using these side categories. They can really help you to narrow down if you're getting too many results. So along with choosing the correct databases for different sources, that may be another way that you can use some of those. So at this point, we're going to go back to the resources page. We looked at these two databases so far. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at books. For a book search, you're looking in the Koha catalog. This Koha catalog is what we have available here at the high school and at Penn Manor School District. So if I go ahead and type in capital punishment, I go ahead and hit search, what I end up with is a search of different books that are available here in the library. So the very first book that comes up is Capital Punishment, Mary E. Williams. I'm going to zoom in on that just a little, and you can see it's 364.66 CAP. What you want to write down is you want to write down that number, and you want to write down the name of the book. It's not a bad idea to write the author down either. Look for a few books. Get a collection of these numbers and these titles. And then after you do that, it's time to take a walk. You want to look around the library. Beginning where the copier is starts the 000 point in the library. That's where Dewey starts off. And then it ticks up in clockwise fashion. So you should be able to find the 300s from that reference point. If you're having trouble or a book is not on the shelf, there's a chance someone else in another class is using it, let us know. We can double check that and verify it for you. This book should be available. If we were to go onto the shelf, it says items available for loan, unless someone else has snagged it right before you. Okay, so those are the books, and you can ask questions about those. I'm going to go ahead and close that, and right here we have Gale Reference eBook Search. We have something called GVRL, really it's just Gale Virtual Reference Library. You can search that entire library and find some different topics. At this point, this is a little hit or miss depending on your topic. It certainly does not cover everything. I think you have a better shot of finding stuff in the larger catalog here. However, if we do a quick search, your topic may be mentioned. It may have some historical significance. This is taking us to our ebook collection, and there are some different excerpts here that deal with capital punishment. A lot of this is very, very history oriented, but it does, some of these articles might give you some context. So that's something to consider. Again, I'm going to close that, and the last item here for books is Power Library eBook Search. I spoke about this when I spoke about the Power Library before. That is simply obtained by choosing the ebook collection as the database that you'd like to look in, and again, that will count as a book source. Next is the web resources. Web resources, there are three. Out of the three web resources, procon.org is a website that specializes in showing the positive and negative sides of an issue, and here it is. That site is very similar in a lot of ways to the Gale Opposing Viewpoint site, but it doesn't have quite as much information. But there are different articles on here, and this could be used to help you flesh out your argument. The next one is called Room for Debate. It's by the New York Times. They tend to put in good editorials that are either controversial or kind of bring a topic up that's been maybe in the news lately. A seat at the table, what is the effect of having more women on corporate boards? And you can see that that this topic will then be discussed and sort of analyzed. So worth a search here to look for some newer articles by the New York Times. And finally, USA.gov. I like the site, and I think it's underutilized, partly because it's really easy to find statistics, especially for a project that you guys are working on like this, where you need some stats pretty fast. The U.S. government collects stats on everybody, just about everything. So we can access those. They are published. Now, the key with this is adding the word statistics to whatever you search. So if I go ahead and write divorce statistics, what I get are some links to some different fast stats, marriage and divorce, Centers for Disease Control. They have listed here a link from a government website, the CDC, about marriage and divorce. And that might give us some information about what we want to know. And this says the date is for the U.S. There's number of marriages 2,118,000. Marriage rate is 6.8 per 1,000 total population, and the divorce rate is 3.6 per 1,000. And this was for the 2011. So it's slightly dated, but still interesting information. It might be something that you could use. So if you're looking for a quick stat, I would try that USA.gov website. As far as the overview, we'll go back to the start page here. And you've got this video and those resources there. Last thing's turn it in. Turn it in this is just a reminder for you on how to log in. We created these accounts in class, or we will create them very soon if you haven't already. That's your login information. If you're having trouble and it doesn't seem to be working, stop by the library and you can get a little bit more direct instruction. This is Mr. Taylor for your guide to the American Law Project, and I'll see you next.